One of the things we have gotten asked a lot over the years has been what are our favorite and what we think the best kids games are out there. Over the years, myself, Mo, and Deanna have told you a lot about our favorites.
Yeah, in addition to multiple game recommendation episodes featuring kids games, we've often talked about the games we've been playing with our kids as they grew up during our Bellhop's Tabletop segment. Now, what I thought would be interesting, since we do have Gwen on the show again today, is to have her share some of her favorite games. Well, I can tell you my thoughts on the games. We've never really had her sit down and explain which ones she likes. Since she's played most of these games, I want to hear about what were her favorite games, and if she has anything interesting to say about growing in a household that's kind of addicted to board games.
So I guess I'll just sort of jump into some of the games I enjoyed when I was very young. So one of my favorites was called Viva Topo. And in this game, we were playing as a bunch of mice, which were running away from this cat who was trying to eat the mice, and you were trying to collect cheese and get away from the cat. Surprisingly, I actually did play this game with the actual rules pretty often, which was not to be said about some of the other games on here. Playing with either my family or with my sister Eve. But of course, I also love to steal the wooden cat piece and sometimes also the mice to use in my own board games. Specifically, I think, although we donated the game, I still have the cat because it's in a box of a homemade game I have. So that's interesting. I sort of wish that I could still go back and play the actual game because I really enjoyed it as a kid. But since we donated it, I can't really compare it to how my memories of it are. But in my memories, I definitely remember loving this game.
Yeah, this was a neat game. The big thing that was neat in this one, and this was it was above a roll and move. It was a roll and move game, but you had multiple mice that were on the track. And when you rolled the dice, you had to decide which of your mice to move. And your goal was to get to Cheesevana at the very end. And the first person in Cheesevana would get the biggest chunk of cheese. And then the next person would get the next smallest chunk of cheese. And the fun part was trying to decide which mouse to move. So do you just take one mouse and run them really far ahead to get a big piece of cheese? Or do you try to move all your mice so none get caught? And then there were little buildings on the corners of the board where if you're in them, you could hide out there so the cat would go past. And then if you rolled the right number, I think it was the 6 on the die, there was just a cat symbol on the die. If you rolled that, the cat also moved. And the cat was neat because it just moved on its own track that was different than the mouse's track. So the cat would move faster, and it starts off slow, but then starts to escalate, jumping multiple spots. And it had awesome wooden components with these wooden mice with, it had felt. Not felt, what's the word? Yarn, whiskers, and little plastic ears. It was just the cutest game. And again, it wasn't just a roll and move because there were very valid decisions to be made while playing the game. It wasn't just roll the thing and move a mouse. You had to pick which mouse to move. And do you hide in the corner or do you try to push your luck? And for a game for younger kids, ages 4+, I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah, it had sort of a racing game feel, even though it wasn't really a racing game, just because of all the mice and the track. So yeah.
And so the dice in it it's a D6, but it's actually a 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the 2 1s being the cat
there you go.
Movement dice. It has won any number of awards. First released in 2002, the latest English release was in 2025 by Pegasus Spiel. So Viva Mouse is how you can find it these days.
Yeah, so available now, not out of print.
So the next game up is Loopin Louie, which is about a crazed pilot flying around above a farm, and your objective is to try and protect your chickens by hitting the pilot away. This game plays 2 to 4 players, but even I tended to get a little bit creative with the player counts. Especially, I love to play solo. This is not a solo game, but I would try to protect all 4 chicken coops at once, or try to kill everyone else's chickens before while protecting mine, even though there weren't any other players. But when we were playing together, we would normally play with the actual rules, but stretch it to sometimes play as 2 players. So we were each protecting 2 chicken coops, even though we were only supposed to be protecting 1. Either way, the game was a lot of fun. The only thing I did not like about it was the sound that the motor in the game made when it was on.
So anyone who used to come out to our events, we used to host at the local game stores, especially Brimstone Games John Solila, local gamer, loved this game and would bring it out to our events. And so many of you have probably played this silly game, super toyetic. It's, takes batteries, makes a ton of noise. And it's a dexterity game, a very light dexterity game. There was a Star Wars retheme, Loopin Louie, that was released, but we never did, despite our whole family pretty much being Star Wars fans, pick that one up. That one only played 3 players, though. Now, I know John went on to take his 2-player version, took 2 of them, and made a 6-player version, which I actually only got to see at one event.
And so there are also versions called Barn Buzzin' Goofy and Bobbin' Bumblebee, as well as the most recent version, which is Bluey Keepy Uppy, released in 2023.
Does Bluey have 3 or 4 players?
Bluey is 2 to 3, same as Chewy.
So it's the same
most
as
of them
the
are 2
Chewy
3.
one. Okay. I wonder why they got it down to 3 instead of 4.
And actually, the Barn Buzzin' Goofy is only 2. It's not even 2 or 3.
Oh, huh.
I feel like
a tournament with all of them.
I feel like it worked really well as a 4-player game. I can't really imagine it as like 3-player. I don't know. Anyways, so the next game I want to talk about is Monster Factory. So this game is about drawing tiles to add onto your monster and score points based on how many eyes it has and how many tiles it's composed of. The art in this game was very cute, and I would sit for hours on my own building creatures out of the tiles just on the floor. And I also played the game with Eve. Even then, though, sometimes we were just competing to make the coolest looking monster, and we would like fight over pieces that we thought were prettier than the others. But we did play with the actual rules as well.
This one continues to be popular. You'll generally see it out at our events around Halloween. I'll bring it out. Or if we do like a monster themed event, I'll bring this one out. It is actually a really solid tile laying game. Deanna and I discovered at our first ever Origins, they had an extra large version of the game. We played it and then we're like, we got to get a copy of this. The kids will love it. It's neat. Your first goal is just build a monster. At that point, the eyes don't matter. It's just complete the monster so it doesn't have any dead ends. But then once you complete a monster, if other players are still in, you then start building minions. And there you get points based on how many eyes your minions have when you complete them. And it's just neat. It's a solid game, solid tile laying game. And I know local gamers who are adults who prefer this over Carcassonne.
And the art, of course, is by Nina Paley, all original art by the American cartoonist and animator Nina Paley, whose work you may know, known for such things as Sita Sings the Blues, the animated film, as well as comic books such as Nina's Adventures and Fluff.
One of the next games I want to talk about is Outfoxed, which is a detective-like game where you're trying to figure out which fox is guilty of committing a crime by investigating the town and looking for clues about like what the visual appearance of the culprit is. The game is very fun, and I loved it as a kid. So much that I think I actually didn't lose any pieces to this game, which is shocking. I think we still have every piece for this game, which is surprising compared to some of the others. It had really interesting components, and like the way to reveal the clues is very unique compared to other games. But yeah.
Yeah, this one's well done. This one was when I was a new parent. I was on Board Game Geek and talking to other gamers and listening to podcasts. I couldn't remember exactly where, but someone recommended this as a fantastic kids game. For one, it's cooperative. There are not a lot of cooperative kids games out there. And depending on your kids and how competitive they are, cooperative is often better. And we've also called out cooperative games being good because the parents can help without, ruining the game. So they had that going for it as well. And this is a true deduction game. And it had a really neat, like plasticky, toyetic piece that you used to determine what, like, oh, did the person have whatever, a mustache? And you put it in like, nope, they didn't have a mustache. Now I know it's not these people. Yeah, fantastic game. Still strongly recommended. No clue if it's still in print.
Yeah, this one, I'm not clear if it's in print. There haven't been any recent English printings, but that doesn't mean that the older printings aren't still in circulation out there. Just be aware that there are 2 Outfoxed, and both use an exclamation mark. The one from 2014 is the children's game we're talking about. The one from 2017 is somebody's indie game that doesn't even really have art or anything. So that's Outfoxed with an exclamation mark from 2014 if you're checking on Board Game Geek.
Currently available on Amazon, so it is still out there. Tabletop Merchant has it cheaper.
So although it's not on my list, talking about Outfoxed just reminded me, Do you remember the name of the game? It had a fox and you were blind and you were grabbing pieces. You were like stealing from the pieces in the box.
Master Fox or Mr. Fox?
Yeah, that game. I also really liked that game.
Master Fox.
Mm-hmm. That one was very fun.
Yeah, we must have donated that one.
I think we did. I think we got rid of it around the same time as Viva Topo.
So Master Fox is a German game imported by ELO where you have to wear a blindfold, and in the box are meeples that are all different shapes, and you have to find the appropriate one. So you're like trying to find the snake. Well, the snake in that's kind of jaggy, and there's also a hedgehog that's kind of spiky. And it was a game where you were learning tactile skills. You were learning how to feel for things. Very neat game. It was also a memory game, and there was some pattern recognition involved. Very interesting game. Personally, I remember liking that one, but finding Laundry Jumble to be better. Do you remember Laundry Jumble, Gwen?
No, I do not remember that one.
Laundry Jumble was one of the first games we ever bought you when you were extremely young. Like Master Fox, I think you're probably 4 or 5, whereas Laundry Jumble was before that. Laundry Jumble was a game where it actually came with a cloth laundry machine, and you put clothes in it, and you would flip up a card and it would show like underpants, and you'd have to reach in and pull out the underpants. And that was pretty much the whole game. Whoever, filled the most cards first wins. And it was just, again, teaching you textures and feeling and what do you call that? I can't think of the term. The problem your sister has, the cognitive, and I can't think of the word for it. Central processing, learning tactile nature and touching things.
While you were talking about that, I vaguely remember the fabric washing machine, and I think we still have some of the clothes that came with that mixed in with doll clothes.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
That one was from Educational Insights back in 2010, and that's probably going to be pretty hard to find these days.
Okay, so of course it would not be childhood games if I didn't mention making up my own games. As a kid, I loved to combine game pieces and create my own games to play with Eve. And somehow I still have a couple that have been immortalized with their own boxes. One of these games I named Split Splat Cat Attack, and the other one is an unnamed game in a red box of a fabric and cardboard map. So Split Splat Cat Attack is a blatant copy of a game I just mentioned, Outfoxed. But instead there is art of cats drawn in pencil on little pieces of paper. And the wooden cat from Viva Topo is there. And I do not remember why it is there. But it is. So it's a mix of paper pieces that make up Outfoxed and the Viva Topo cat.
And unfortunately, you can't get those in stores.
No. The other game, from what I remember, is a bit harder to describe, but it has this map, and it had just a deck of cards, a giant plush die, plastic bugs, and cardboard Catan pieces. And this game was kind of a free-for-all RPG sort of made up on the spot game, but instead of rolling a dice like you would in a traditional RPG, you drew cards to determine how successful you were. And I think you could also craft things with the Catan resources. I distinctly remember making pasta to use as a rope once to go through a keyhole to get someone out of a door, of course. And also, I think that the plastic bugs were enemies, because when I was looking at the box earlier, I found these paper encounter cards that had stats and attacks for the different bugs.
So I've got a question at that point. So which of the games you had as a kid were best to steal parts out of?
Okay, so Catan Jr., because it had all those pieces. Of course, the Viva Topo mouse. And then, I think those were honestly mainly the ones that I stole one from were Catan Jr. and Viva Topo. But I'm certain there must have been others that I probably stole pieces from as well.
So jumping back a bit to Outfoxed, Roger Dodger Games calls out in the chat room that he just picked up a copy for his nephew. So definitely in print and available.
Excellent.
So back to actual games that I did not make up. There are 2 games I want to mention with the name Labyrinth. Just Labyrinth and the Magic Labyrinth. So although they share the word Labyrinth in their names, these games are completely different. Starting with just Labyrinth. This game is about searching for specific treasures in an ever-changing maze. So throughout the game, the labyrinth shifts by like sliding tiles in, and that changes the different rows and columns, moving like both players and the treasure that you're looking for. I loved this game as a kid, and I'm pretty sure if I played it now, I'd still like it. I just haven't played it in a long time. But this game was also really great for grade school because everyone always thought it looked really cool. I'd have like a crowd of classmates watching or asking what it was whenever I brought it.
Yeah, and that's the classic Ravensburger Labyrinth. I think most gamers are going to recognize that one and know that game if they see it. There are multiple different themed versions, and there's even a more advanced Master Labyrinth, which I think we own. And I'm not sure if you remember playing the original or the Master version. I don't think there were that much difference, that maybe asymmetric powers or something like that.
So I definitely played the original Labyrinth, but when looking for the box today, I saw that we do have the other one, although I do not remember that one at all. So I'm not sure I ever played Master Labyrinth, but definitely the base version.
And this Labyrinth in the past year has come out with a new English edition from Ravensburger, as well as a one-piece Labyrinth and a glow-in-the-dark Pokemon Labyrinth.
So for the second Labyrinth game, the Magic Labyrinth, this one is also about searching for treasure, but this time instead of the labyrinth moving, it has invisible walls. The walls are actually underneath the board and can be like rearranged into any pattern you like. And then the pieces above the board are magnetic, and they have like a metal ball connected underneath. Therefore, when you move through a wall, the ball will like fall off, and then you'll know that you've walked through an invisible wall and you have to respawn your character. And so you kind of go through trying to memorize where the walls are and collect all the treasure.
Yeah, that game was just really cool. That was another one that was recommended around the same time as Outfoxed. Again, probably the Dice Tower based on the time period, but strongly recommended. This is a game with an invisible maze. And the best part is the tactile feel, because you go to move your piece and you know when you hit that wall, you just feel it, but there's nothing in front of you, right? And of course, the first time we played with the kids, we blew them away because we didn't tell them how it works. So they were just, oh my God, what's happening? How does it work? Until they figure it out. And then you're like, oh, it's magnets.
So the latest English edition of this one was released in 2023. And in case you doubt the pedigree of this game, it was the 2009 Kinderspiel des Jahres and is number 23 on the Board Game Geek list of children's games.
Yeah, this is honestly one of my strongest recommendations out of all the games here.
So in the same art style as Magic Labyrinth, which does have very cute art, is Magician's Kitchen. So this game is about 4 wizards trying to move potion ingredients around the kitchen, and you have to put the ingredients like on top of your pieces, and then you have to gently push them around with a stick and try to like not dump the pieces onto the floor and instead dump them into corresponding cauldrons. It's like sort of color sorting and also very manual decks. It was quite fun as a kid, and I played it a lot with Eve. I probably liked it because I was better at it than her. I normally won. But the art is also very cute, and the concept and the pieces. The only issue is that I did love the game so much that our copy is basically unplayable due to how many missing pieces there are.
So one of the things, and I don't know if you realize this, it wasn't just dexterity. There were magnets in the board. So you would push your character and you would trip over cobblestones, and they would force your character to dip if you hit one of the magnets. So there was also a memorization element to the game. And it's one of the reasons you're supposed to actually rotate the board every time you play, so you never remember exactly where they are. So it's about pushing your person, or besides pushing the person around not too quick and not tipping them over, avoiding the trip holes in the ground that you eventually learn are there.
I don't think I realized there were magnets. I think I just thought I was really bad at it.
Oh, there you go.
And both this and Magic Labyrinth came from Playroom Entertainment for their English versions. And this one was nominated, Magician's Kitchen was nominated for Kinderspiel des Jahres in 2011, but didn't win out at that time. Unfortunately, 2011 was the last time this one was released. So I'm not sure if Magician's Kitchen is going to be available.
I got to say that the production quality on these is very high, and I have to assume the cost to make them was not cheap, especially with like embedded magnets and cardboard and everything like that. And yes, I'm a quick look using my tabletop gaming skills, it shows me none available anywhere.
So next up is actually a set of 3 games that I was gifted from my dad. And that is Oi Dat's My Leg, Hungry Troll and the Gobos, and Squelch. So although I know I must have played all three of them, the only one I vaguely remember is Oi, That's My Leg. And even that one I don't remember too well. What I do remember, though, is playing the games of Eve and loving them. Although I don't remember the rules, I do remember the joy of playing them and how much I loved like the art in them. And also, they came with cassette tapes, and listening to those was always very interesting.
Now, here is the first game on the list that Sean and I played together growing up. So this is the first overlap for a game I played as a kid. Though we were probably like 13 at the time, and games Gwen played as a kid. These were board games released by Games Workshop, officially marketed to be something to keep your kids busy while you played Warhammer. They were silly, stupid, had amusing art, and yes, each came with its own Trollish Tunes tape. As a kid, I only owned Oi, That's Me Leg. So Gwen is literally playing the copy Sean and I used to play. And then as an adult, I suddenly realized I'm an adult with the internet. I bet you I can get the other two games, and did. So yes, those are the Trollish Tunes games. There are reviews of all three on the blog if you want more information about those.
So there is supposed to be a fourth one.
Yes, it was released after, and I have not been able to find that one.
Yeah.
So lastly, for the kiddie games on this list is Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. Although this game is marketed for kids, I will note that pretty much anyone of any age should enjoy this game. It is a cooperative game where you are playing as a group of kids trying to collect treasure from a haunted house. The mechanics, components, art, everything in this game is fantastic. Everyone in the family loves this game, and it's always been a favorite of mine since we got it when I was younger, although I have not had a chance to play it in quite a while.
Yeah, it was just amusing because I noticed both Sean and I both nodding emphatically when she was saying this is a great game for everyone. And I agree. Even better with the expansion, though, this one has been re-released in an anniversary edition that is different than what we own and includes new ways to play, including a player being able to play the ghost. So the version we strongly recommend is the original Ghost Fightin, not Fighting. It's actually Fightin Treasure Hunters with the Creepy Cellar. I've not had a chance to try the new one to see how it compares. I know it is one of those things where they lost the license to the original art, and that's why they had to republish it. So it looks completely different. Gameplay-wise, I know there's a way to play the monsters, but I don't know like if it's got the Master Spook or any of the Creepy Cellar stuff in there, and I'm actually curious to know. So if anyone's picked up the most recent version of Ghost Fight Treasure Hunters, I would love a comparison to the original.
And Red Meat Ryan in the chat is asking about the Ghostbusters version.
So the Ghostbusters version was a cheaper, more mass market, available in Target, whatever version of the game that was lesser component quality and is just the base game with no expansion. So you're getting basically the same game of lesser quality. The board's actually smaller and the pieces are smaller. So it's not even like it's compatible that you can just use the Ghostbuster pieces on the main board. So it's just like a licensed version to coincide with the new Ghostbusters movies coming out. And it was a lesser quality. To be fair, for years I recommended that one because the original Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters was out of print. So it was better than nothing. Like it's still Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters, which is great. But it unfortunately the quality I've heard a lot of complaints on. Like I guess it's really worse. Like thin cards that bend and fold and a smaller board and everything else.
I mean, we have been talking about Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters ad nauseum for years on this podcast. So if you don't know about it, you might be new to our show. And we've got plenty of other episodes where we've talked about children's games as well.
I will say, going back to an older question, I do remember stealing components again for making my own games. The ghosts from Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters, those pieces are amazing. And I would steal those. All right, so on to some games that are not actually kids' games, but I did play for the first time when I was younger. We have Splendor. So I'm assuming most people obviously already know this game, but this was the first grown-up game that I ever played. My mom taught it to me, and until maybe a couple years ago, when asked what my favorite game was, I actually would say Splendor. I really liked it when it was taught to me, and for a while I'd bring this to events at grade school, try and teach it to my friends. No one else really liked it, but I did.
Yeah, I think everyone's known mine. I just played too much Splendor. It's one of those that if I played it now, I'd probably love it because it's been long enough. But it got a lot of play around this house.
I've always been a fan of it, and I haven't overplayed it, so I never actually reached the, oh my God, put it away, make it stop level. So there we go.
So lastly, after Splendor, I asked my mom, show me more games, because I'm like, whoa, this game's great. So the next like bigger game that I played was Valeria Card Kingdoms. I don't think I've played this game since it was taught to me back when I was maybe 11 or 12. So I don't remember much of the actual mechanics of the game very well, but I do remember loving this game so much. And when we later started reviewing like the other Valeria games, I was really excited because I was like, oh, I remember that. I remember the Valeria Card Kingdoms. So to this day, I still love like almost all the Valeria games. They're really good. Valeria Card Kingdoms being the first one that I tried.
And all that says to me is we need to get together and do a 5-player game of Valeria Card Kingdoms, because I'll admit I haven't touched that copy of the game in a long time, and we still have the I have the original printing. I did not, when they put out the second edition, did not jump back into the game because I had already had the original and multiple expansions. But yeah, that's a fantastic game. For a game similar to that, you also enjoyed Space Base, but that was much later. Those two have something in common with you collect cards that have numbers on them, and you roll those numbers, you get something.
And Space Base doesn't have the Dukes.
No. No. They might have fixed that in the second edition. I probably should have kept up with Valeria. I loved Valeria.
Loved Valeria, hated the Dukes. Got it wrong every single time.
Any other ones you want to mention? I'm trying to rack my head for ones I remember playing with you. Now, one I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but Mom teaching you Ingenious.
I vaguely remember. I mainly remember learning Quirkle from Mom, but I do also remember Ingenious, but not that well. I think mainly what I remember is we had the app version on the big iPad, so I would play the app version of Ingenious whenever I was on the iPad. But for other games I wanted to mention, there is Forbidden Island, which I did enjoy a lot as a kid and brought out to like grade school game events, and I think also some like high school ones. When I started off Board Game Club in like 10th grade, I remember bringing Forbidden Island. I think I taught that game to my math teacher. It didn't go well. No one understood it, but I did teach it to my math teacher. There's also Rhino Hero, which I enjoyed playing with Eve, but I maybe played with the actual rules once when you taught it to us. Besides that, we just kind of liked stacking the cards to see how high we could get it. There's also Gary Gouda, which I believe was a birthday present given to Eve. And that game we didn't get out very often because it was large and heavy. So you had to get it down from the shelf for us. But I also don't think we played with the rules for this one. It just has fun doors because depending on how much cheese you have underneath your mouse, because you're trying to collect cheese, you can't like fit through some of the doors. So we just kind of like messed around with that instead of playing the actual game. There was also, again, I believe this might be the same company as the Magic Labyrinth and Magician's Kitchen, because it had the same art style again. But Vampires of the Night, which I don't think I ever played once with the actual rules, but it had a vampire and there was a board with a whole bunch of garlic pieces, and you had to like put the garlic into holes using a magnet to move around your vampire character. And I just liked pushing around the vampire with a magnet because it was a bat on a stick and it was magnetic. And that was very fun and exciting to me. There was also a little bit more complicated game again, King of Tokyo, as well as we had the expansion, I believe. Yes.
Well, we had the power-up expansion, and we also had King of New York. But if I remember, you didn't enjoy King of New York.
I did not. But I do remember playing King of Tokyo. I do not remember the mechanics well, but I do remember enjoying that game, as well as like we had Gobblet Jr., Animal Upon Animal, and I think we bought Blokus for you as a birthday gift once, which was a bit of an odd choice for something to gift to you. And that ended up on our kids' shelf because it's Blokus, but you know.
So, Animal Upon Animal, I loved. That was great. That never took off for you guys as much. Like you liked it. You used to have another one that was Panda Bow, I think it was called, with the roly panda that you would stack on top. But you guys played with that one, I remember, more when you were very young. So Forbidden Island is notable because Forbidden Island is one of the things that got Eve to learn to read. Something about her reading off the cards. It really encouraged her to learn to read. So Forbidden Island has a special place in my heart. Rhino Hero, we love. Gary Gouda was awesome. Gary Gouda, it's so toyetic. It's a giant mouse trap base, not mouse trap, but like a mouse maze. It's a house, and then you randomize these slots that go in the top, and then you have to go from your entrance, go into it, and come back carrying pieces of cheese. But as Gwen mentioned, the doors are different sizes, and eventually you can be too fat to fit in certain doorways. So it was all about kind of memorizing and then finding the best routes. So that one was neat. Vampires in the Night was just a odd game because you were collecting garlic. So I don't know what the heck was with the theme there, but yes, it used a magnet. So you're pushing your piece with this bat. Well, the thing is, your thing's a magnet, so you're just using the magnetic force to push your piece. So it's instead of using your finger, and you were kind of like on this like scaffolding above the board, and you were trying to knock the garlic off into the pits below to get points. King of Tokyo is a big hit for me. I think that's a fantastic high player count game with any number. One of the ones you didn't mention that I think is notable is Mice and Mystics. Now, Mice and Mystics is a role-playing dungeon crawler with a fantastic story of medieval characters, medieval knights, adventurers, whatever you want to call them, being turned into mice and then being hunted by the king's rats trying to save a prince who had been turned into a rat or a mouse. An awesome, amazing story. But man, that was not a kid's game. Like it was a kid's story book, and the theme and the story was great. But the mechanics were like, they weren't Gloomhaven level, but it was a complicated dungeon crawler. So that one I made a mistake with by introducing you guys too early. And we just never got back to it. We still, to this day, we should go this weekend and play some Mice and Mystics because you never got to experience that one.
Yeah, I thought of a couple other games. There was also Bugs in the Kitchen, and we had the like Storybook Tortoise and the Hare game. Yep. Though I'm not sure we ever ended up playing that one. I liked how it looked. I liked the box because it was book shaped. But I don't remember ever playing that one. Bugs in the Kitchen, though, did get a lot of play, especially adding in random hex bugs just from our collection and just swarming the kitchen with bugs because why not? But that one is like you're moving, turning utensils in the kitchen to try and guide bugs into like little traps on either side. And it's got hex bugs in it. So it's very exciting as a kid because they're moving and it's fun.
Yeah, Bugs in the Kitchen, that was one I did not enjoy playing with you guys. It was just basically random. The hex bug would move around, you'd roll a thing, and it'd be like, you can turn a fork, and you're just trying to turn it so it gets in the opponent's goal. That one wasn't for me. Tortoise and the Hare, you definitely did play a few times. I just didn't take to it much. It's actually a really good racing game, and it's one of those, like, you pick a character, and you're playing sets of cards, and you play Tortoise cards, you, of course, move slow, but you can play lots of them. Where Hare cards, you move really fast, but if you push your luck too much, you have to sleep and so on. That was actually a really neat game. It was from the Tales and Games series. Another one you had in that was Baba Yaga. And I remember when I'm asking, like, hey, can you clean off yourself? You want to donate anything? It was like the first one you gave me. So you guys obviously didn't like Baba Yaga.
Deanna spoke very highly about Tortoise and the Hare in one episode. I clearly remember talking about those storybook games and her memories of them when you guys were kids.
Now, one I haven't heard you mention that I know you guys loved was Go Cuckoo.
Yes, we do both love Go Cuckoo, and it is a game we still play pretty frequently. I think it got played this week. So we played a lot as a family when we first got it, and it's been a hit at like Board Game Club at school, and I've even taught it at some of the Walkerville Brewery events. But yeah, that one is very fun.
So one thing I noticed that several times has come up now is Playroom Entertainment games. Now, unfortunately, Playroom Entertainment has been sucked up into the conglomerate that is Ultra Pro, and currently their web store isn't even online. So I'm not quite clear what's going on. There are no official releases for Playroom Entertainment since 2021, I think. But if you get a chance and you've got kids, do go look at some of the honors that have been lauded onto Playroom Entertainment games over the years as children's games. The number of nominations for Kinderspiel des Jahres, winners of Kinderspiel des Jahres, and just great games with this great art style that Gwen, had repeatedly said, oh, this is from the same place. Yes, those are from Playroom Entertainment, all those games.
Yeah, there was one about a ghost on a ladder or going up a stairwell that you also had from that series of games. I think those were the four we had. And I can't remember the name of the one with the ghost going up the stairwell. If I remember, it wasn't the most fun out of all of them.
think we might have donated that one sooner than the others. I don't really remember that one too well. I will say I thought of a game that I specifically played with you. It was the Star Wars dice one that we were playing for a while. What was that called? Because we played that for a while when I was younger. Star Wars Destinies? Star Wars something. But it was the dice
Destiny.
one where you,
Not Destiny, just Destiny. Star Wars Destiny, a collectible dice game that was actually more of a card game, but also used dice. It was interesting. The problem was it was collectible. It was a TCG basically, and it was part of the same time Dice Masters came up, which we played that quite a bit too with the Marvel Dice Masters. But you liked the Star Wars one more. Star Wars Destinies was a lot of fun, but I just wasn't willing to keep up with the release schedule and all the collectible stuff.
I think that was around the same time where we also like tried out like Heroclix and stuff and like some other collectible games.
Yeah.
Which were fun, but they didn't get that much play after like a short span of time where we played them.
All right.
I agree.
We had a couple of comments come in earlier in the chat room when you were discussing about the games you made yourself, asking if you have heard about a site called The Game Crafter. And there's also Component Studio, which is tied to Game Crafters, or you can print out some of your parts at home if you are interested in continuing with your game design career. Next up, though, people want to know, what is your favorite of all the games you played growing up, if you can pick one?
So I always have a very hard time choosing favorites, but if I had to specify, I would say that it would definitely be either Magician's Kitchen or the Magic Labyrinth. Those games, they just had like the best concept and they were the most replayable. Like I went back and played those games over and over again. They would keep me occupied for a longer time. I could play them with Eve. I could make up my own solo versions. They were some of the best games that I remember.
Totally fair. All right. Well, those are the games you enjoyed while growing up. What about now? You are in a house with hundreds of board games, possibly well over hundreds of board games. What would you say are your top 5 games right now?
With so many games to choose from and playing new games all the time, it is very hard for me to make like a specific list of favorites. But right now, I would probably say Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy. This game is killer. Monstrosity, Star Explorer, and Star Trek Super Skill Pinball. But if you ask me this question tomorrow, I may have completely different answers. I don't know.
Star Trek Super Skill surprised me on that list. Have you played that one recently?
No, but I tried to. I brought it out to a board game club and no one wanted to play it with me.
Okay.
But I've tried. I've tried to get people to play it.
So similar topic, and I realize we're now talking about like high schoolers at this point. What would you say are the most popular games at your game club? So you run the board game club at Walkerville Collegiate, which is a local art high school, where all the weird kids go. What are the most popular games there right now?
So I would say that the most popular categories are obviously light party games. We have a short time limit, so we haven't really been able to play anything heavier, especially if you've got anything D&D based. That will get people interested because most people know what D&D is. So Kiss the Goblin, Dubious, Adventure Party, and other games like that always get told to be brought back. This game is killer, as well as drawing games like Telestrations, Monstrosity, and Caution Signs are all very popular. Manual Dex games, specifically Catch the Moon and Go Cuckoo, tend to be popular as well. And I've brought in a couple 2-player games that are popular, like Boop, and I believe Aqualand has also been played a couple times. Hues and Cues and the Chameleon are both very popular at Board Game Club. Hues and Cues actually was how we got a couple of our members spotted us with a copy of Hues and Cues and ended up joining Board Game Club and now are some of our regulars. Yeah, there's probably others I'm not thinking of right now, but those are most the ones that I try and bring in like every week.
It's funny because that list sounds a whole lot like what gets played every single month at Walkerville.
Yes.
So adults and high schoolers are really going for those same games. When the last time you brought out Hues and Cues, it was on the table, and every time it was on the table and someone came over to the table, they took it away from the table. That game, it's not really for me, but it is wildly popular. I don't know how it got the mass market appeal that it got.
TikTok. At least for high schoolers.
Okay.
I will say, people have mentioned, oh, I saw someone play this. Oh, I watched a streamer play this. Oh, I saw it online. When they spot it at Board Game Cliff, they'll be like, I saw this game online. I really want to try that. It was the same thing with the Chameleon. Both Hughes and Q's and the Chameleon were games that people had seen online and seen other people play it and wanted to try.
There.
So before we move on, do we have anything else from the chat?
So Roger was asking about Robot Turtles. Have you played any of the Robot Turtle games?
Yes, we did. We did play Robot Turtles. I really liked Robot Turtles as a kid. It was a very good, beginning, programming type game. I have not played it probably since.
The problem with Robot Turtles. The problem with Robot Turtles is it was fantastic, but there was only one scenario in the base box, and it left you to do the rest. And when you were younger, it would be up to the parents to come up with new programs, or it was up to it was a great sandbox of a game, but they didn't quite give you enough tools to tell you what to do with it. I just felt that games could have been so much more if it was released, one of those logic puzzle games with 100 different puzzles in it and they get harder as you go. I think would have been better than what they did give you, which is this: here's a programming toolkit and here's one scenario to play with it, and now it's up to you to do the rest. I just felt that one was a missed opportunity. Now, that said, that one game that's in there, the kids had a great time with, and I do remember them making programs for each other, where one kid would make a maze, the other one had to get the robot through it, and then the other kid would make a maze and get the robot through it.
Mm-hmm. I will say, for other programming-based games, didn't we try slightly more recently? It had monkeys and bananas. What was that called?
Code Monkeys Going Bananas, which launched on Kickstarter and failed to fund, so that never became reality.
Well, that game was really good, but obviously can't get that one.
You can check out our preview if anyone else is looking to pick up the license or maybe do something with it.
What else we got here? Roger was mentioning that Spot It is great for little kids.
Did you play Spot It?
We did have a copy of Spot It. I think we had 2 copies of Spot It, but the cards got lost very quickly. So we ended up with half a copy of Spot It that we didn't know the rules to because we lost the rules. So it was more what we thought the rules to Spot It were. And I will say that I found Spot It in a classroom at school slightly recently, read the rules, and realized I was playing wrong for large portions of my life. It's a little bit of a simple game to mess up, but when you don't have any expectation of what the rules are, yeah.
Because all Spot It actually is a deck of cards where every card has something in common with every other card in the deck. That's it. That's the special thing. And there's there's different rules you can play. One is just first person to spot it, spots it. The other is there was 4 or 5 different variants of what to do with that deck. But the whole key of Spot It is every single card has something in common with every other card in the deck. And it changes what that is.
Ryan was asking, have you played, when you're talking about King of Tokyo, have you played King of New York?
So we did have King of New York, and I did not like it. I liked King of Tokyo, but I did not like King of New York. Due to that, I think I may have erased it from my memory because I do not remember why I did not like it. I just remember not liking it.
Totally fair. Now, I think I've played it. I've played it with you. Robot Quest Arena, your thoughts?
So I definitely love that game. I've only gotten a chance to play it about twice, although I do see it getting played a lot at the Walkerville game events. Mm-hmm. And it was very fun to play as a family the couple times I have been able to play it. I think it would definitely work really great as a kid's game, and I probably would have played it more if I had been given that game at a younger age.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't exist. So,
and then Roger is saying Invasion of the Cow Snatchers is a great puzzle game.
Do not know that one. I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
All right.
So I do have Red Meeple Ryan was asking if you ever played Hero Quest.
Oh, I thought we covered that one. Sorry.
I recognize the name and I've immediately forgotten if I've played that.
All right.
Which is that the wait. Is that the one we got maybe a couple years ago? The draw a card and draw on the map one?
No.
That's a different game.
No, so this was a game that I grew up playing that I used to play when I was dating your mom, and before that actually, but played through the whole campaign with your mom. And it's a adventure game, and then they recently Hasbro republished it in deluxe edition, and you and your sister and your mom got it for me for Christmas, and we sat down and played once and lost very horribly, and Eve refused to ever play again. If I remember that first game, you decided to be the barbarian and run off on your own, even though I kept telling you that doesn't really work in this game.
I remember now. Yeah, that game did not go over very well. I think that might be why I don't remember it, but I think maybe if we replayed it, it might be a bit of a different experience now. If you could convince Eve to play it again.
And
Eve does not enjoy cooperative
playing
games.
it. We definitely were a little older when we first got to HeroQuest, and then you sort of your marriage developed playing HeroQuest.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, there you have it. A bunch of great kids games and family game recommendations from someone who grew up playing games. I don't think we can get a better source than that.
Thanks for joining us and letting us know about your favorite games, Gwen. How about you folks listening? What were your favorite games growing up? We would love to hear about it in the comments on social media, where we can be found as Tabletop Bellhop, one word, pretty much everywhere, or through email, mo@tabletopbellhop.com.